My name is Bisi Ololade. I'm a youth missionary. I work with Youth for Christ Nigeria. And I'm privileged to head the Lekki branch. So I work with young people. And one of my major challenge is that, I don't know how to put it, but from what we talked about, when I put myself in that place, I think is the declining one. Yes.
So either unyielding preservation, so that's a steady decline, or accelerated decline. Is it more steady, or is it rapid? Things are just, you are losing everywhere.
No.
So it is
I think
probably
it's the complacency.
okay. Complacency.
Kind of,
okay,
yes.
all right. So it's slow.
There's
slow.
a little bit of maintenance.
Okay, all right. So it's on that
and
side.
Yes,
okay.
yes, sir. And it's about, so I work with a lot of volunteers. Yeah, and most of them in this axis either want to collect something. They don't do things freely, which is understandable because most of them are from different places. But my question is that...
So is it when you say they want to collect something, maybe just like tea-fare?
Some of them want to be paid. Some of them want to volunteer at their own, which is not bad. But we are a timely people. We have things to do, when to do it, and how to go about it. So I have a number of young people that have been with me for a bit. And they have been really good, in quotes. They are people that show up. But they are still the same set of people that give me problems. Yeah. So how do I deal with that kind of set of people? I'll give you one major example. Is one young man that is from the Niger Delta, has a lot of beliefs in, I am a man. You don't tell me what to do. Even at the fact that we are so far apart when it comes to age.
But like how old is he, do you know?
He should be in his late 20s. Yeah, exactly. Everybody's saying, yeah. So you are supposed to be here by 5. Like, I'll give you an example. I was to go to Abuja together with him. I'm calling you, and you're telling me, SB, calm down. Your blood today hot. You know, so somebody advised me to let him go. But I found that in that organization, you talked about people that has mouths, that they are the ones that, he has brought a lot of young people into the organization that works with me. So at some point, I let him go. From what I've heard now, I'm pushed to ask the question, do I let him in back? And there are one or two of them, like there's one that is a conservative, but he's always there. He's my thing. I have to do it my own way. You understand, sir? Thank you.
Thank you. That's a great question, by the way. Any other question? Okay.
Praise God. So my name is Charles. By the grace of God, I'm also a missionary. So I work with Christian Network for African Mission. So I've been privileged to go to across Nigeria and some few African countries. So I have about 4 questions, if you could take them out.
Let's do 2 first. Let's do 2, and then we'll see if, yes.
So they're all connected. So I want to ask, so how long would a stage, are they time-bound, a particular stage? Because like when we had that breakup session, I was trying to ask my fellow discussant, so how do you know you are at a stage? How long? Because sometimes you could be at the strategic stage so how do you know you are in between?
Yes.
How long? One. So the other one is, can one sort of rescend? What I mean is return back to a backward stage. Maybe you are about going to the life support, and then you suddenly, is it possible to suddenly come back to bed stage, or maybe sustainable
Sustained health.
sustained health. So that's another one. And then I like to ask, the third one is, what about if the leader, the CEO, the founder is the issue? Because this very one it's been what has been hitting my head since I was listening to you. So what do you do, if the issue is the leader? Take, for example,
The main leader.
The main leader. Take, for example, our country. Okay, from day one you entered office, you just destroyed, you set something in motion. And so no other thing can succeed. Companies, startups, even churches, ministries are struggling.
All right.
So then the last one, the fourth one is too. So how do we hear all of these things? I'm so glad to be here. So I'm like, okay, are we waiting for the politicians in Nigeria to be our savior? Why are denominational Christians or traditional Christians discouraging Christians from going into politics? Yes, it's dirty.
All right, I get it.
Lenient be dirty before you clean it up.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Thank you very much. Okay, because I now have 5 questions. So you'll be the first. Okay, it's related to her own question. Okay, to help expand. All right.
Hello, everyone. My name is Iniolua. So my dad is a church, and there was a particular news I heard that broke my heart. There's a key member, and this person is a foundational person, has been from the get-go, basically, and all of that, and he's an influential person. But it turns out that this person is very disruptive in terms of working behind the scenes against the leadership. But the truth also is that he has his own kind of influence. So that's why I said it's related to hers. So at what point do you choose the greater good and say, okay, for the greater good, for the sake of the sheep, do you understand? Just you come and be going, or or what do you do to curb, because it's becoming disruptive, it's becoming something that could probably even lead to a scandal that could stall the entire thing.
Yeah, thank you. So let me start with that question. And sometimes I like to answer questions not very directly, but to also try to discern what is actually going on in essence. I want to do this one. I'm going really high. I really do think a lot of the Christian and just general non-profits in Nigeria have to, if there's a way, they need to gather together and really have a huge discussion. Because I have my views about the models that we use, and I don't think they really can work. The models of a lot of non-profits in Nigeria and in Africa, and particularly even the Christian ones, they are using models that work in developed countries and don't work here a lot. I'll give you an example. When I lived in the UK, I found something odd in some of the churches I was in, which was, you see some people working, and say, what are you doing? They say, I'm a resident. What is it, like an internship resident? Yeah. Okay, so what does that mean? It means church doesn't pay them. And they will say, I want to work for a year. So I say, how do you make money? They said, oh, we raise money. Who do you raise money from? Well, people in church, people in friends, and all of that. And maybe people from other churches. What kind of money are they talking about? Some of them, maybe it is about £1,500 a month. Now think about that. Anything between 1,500 to 2,000. Well, not 2,000, but about 1,500, 1,250, 1,500. So many of them are raising money, 15,000 to 18,000 pounds a year. Now, what is that? 15,000. I don't want to, I know it's not 2,000, but I want to use 2,000. At one point, it was 2,000 naira to a pound. 15,000 pounds, if it's 2,000 naira to a pound, you know how much that is? 30 million naira. Now, it's not 1,000, it's not 2,000. So let's say it's like 1,800. So it's not 30 million. Let's say it's like 27 million. How many of us can get up between our family, friends, and whatever, and we raise 27 million for the year? Why? Because I want to discover whether God is calling me to some kind of ministry or not, because He may not be calling me, and you have that. How many of us can do that in this country? Do you notice why they're able to raise it? Because they come from a developed country. The per capita income, that is what people earn, the average person earns there, is actually quite high. So when you have a rich country, it is easier to run, actually, non-profits there. Do you get what I'm saying? Now, what happens is that you then come to a developing country. And then some people, they don't even pay them, but some other people are taking care of needs. You now come to a developing country. You now say, let us run a non-profit. How are we going to get members? They are all going to be volunteers. Who is going to pay them for free? And say, let them raise money from people. Raise money from people. Some of these people that went to university, they are the ones that their entire generation is looking to bring them out or something. Who are they going to raise money for? Are you getting what I'm saying? That's why sometimes what happens is that the people that are trying to volunteer, I asked the question, I said, are you looking for TFA? Because I know that with many people, it's just like, I want to do this thing, but I can't even afford to come. Now you're saying I should use my productive time to work in a place for free. What is going to happen with my life? Like, am I going to gain experience? How am I going to get a job? Do you see what I mean by the model is there's something flawed. It is built on a foundation that, it's the same problem we have with churches. Many times we are saying, how can I find the best person to come and serve you? How can I well, you have to pay them. How can I pay them? We don't pay people in church. We just bless them. But then, the people that you're not looking for, you can't have the best people because the best people are going to work because they have many people to feed. So we have that. There is a challenge there. Now, if I now come very specifically to your problem, so I'm not trying to say there's a larger problem, but within your ecosystem, how do you do it? And funny enough, in the last couple of months, I've had to give this advice to quite a number of people. I remember speaking to someone who is a musician and was leading a group of people. And I said, because the person was telling me that, look, I'm having problems, or a lot of them are rebelling. I said, stop, let me tell you what they're rebelling against. He wanted to say the problem was that there are personal issues. I said, that's not your problem. Your problem is that it's a money issue. And I said, but we've been giving them, we've even increased. I said, by how much? Let's say it was about 5% from the last year. I said, this is the problem. When you started these people, some of them were 21, 22. Now they are 28. Now they want to marry. And wedding costs money. Are you noticing what's going on? That is, people's changing life experiences require something more from them. If you're expecting them to be thinking about the same thing, you're calling them to do the same things, you're giving them the same things, but now time has passed. It's not going to work. So the advice I give him is the advice I've given quite a number of people. You have to, and this is strategic, to stay to yourself, where am I taking from? Don't try and take from people that are 27, 28. Don't try and keep, and then also, when do I let them go? So if you have a model that says, I am looking for people who are 20, 21, and I know that within 2-3 years, they have to go. Not so much, not that until they tell me it's time to go. No, I will push them. You have to have the system where I'm going to push them. So you now have to think, how can I design things that will work for them in 3 years so that they would help me, but also they'll be developed. Then, if you are doing it for 3 years, towards the end of year 2, you know that you've entered into recruitment mode. Because if you try and keep them beyond, yes, there is a huge gap between you and a 28-year-old man. But he's a 28-year-old man. And he's not going to want to be spoken to in a certain way. He may be useful. Now, do you let him back in? If you let him back in, from what you have described, if you let him back in, what's going to happen is that, let's say what he brings to you, I want to say in terms of money, what he brings to you is, the gain he brings to you is like 100 naira. What he costs you will be like 170 naira. So sometimes we look at what somebody will bring. We don't look at what they are taking. So with everything I said about his age, with all of those kinds of things, is it where what you're achieving through your stuff, is it going to be exciting for him? Probably not. So what you want is young people, and you have to design your stuff in a way that shows them that if they stay 2-3 years with you, when they leave, they'll be better off. And you have to mean that. So now you have to then say, what do I need to add to a 20, 21, 22-year-old that I can give and that will be useful for them? And that's also going to be part of your recruitment pitch to them. So that way, even though they are not being paid, right, they know that they're getting something. But then you also have to say, okay, if you're going to join, this is what it's going to take. It's going to cost this from you. Now, you may also be able to speak, if possible, with the organization or with the people that fund you. As you are raising money for your own needs, maybe you budget what it is to have 5 volunteers. How much is it going to cost them to have transport and drink for what have you every month? Multiply it by 12. Know what the sum is. So when you are raising money for yourself, whatever your own budget is, add that there so that you are able to give them something to be able to come. Does that make sense? All right, and very similar to, well, in a way, similar to what you were asking, when it comes to really, I'll say not just disruptive church members, cancerous church members, may have a zero policy to it, zero tolerant policy. Zero tolerant policy. There is people that have chemistry issues in church, there are people that have complaints, all of those kind of things. There's a difference between that one. And even that one, when it is becoming too much, we find a way to say, hey, what's up? It's either this church has been good to you, is good enough to you. If this church is causing you to always complain, then you being in this church is evidently not good for you. But if you have not realized that being in this church is not good for you, we have realized that being in this church is not good for us. You have to go. And I'm saying that I've told people before, but it's not like it just got to that point. It's small. So at some point, you're like, we've entertained, you complain about this thing, we explain. We complain about this one, we explain. You met with different kinds of leaders. Now, you're causing problems. So you have to decide. But all of those ones is different from what it seems to be you're describing. One of my favorite quotes, one of our preachers that said this, told me, I don't know where he is, told me, said this. He says, whenever you give the devil a foothold, it will eventually become a stronghold. There are entities in our church that become strongholds. Right? What you describe is somebody that is a stronghold. You have to remove the stronghold, though. Because at some point, if that stronghold becomes cemented inside, it's you, pastor, that will go. And you also have to be careful. It is good to have people that have influence and power, as long as influence and power is used for good and the mission. That's why it's important for when people come to your church, when people come to your organization, they know what the mission is. Because the truth is, influential, powerful people have their own goal and mission. If sometimes it's even innocent, they just see certain things going on and think, this is how we should go, this is how we should go. Because they are not thinking in line with some of the values that you have put in there. So if you are able to lead them in a way that keeps them aligned, fine. And it's great. They are wonderful people to have. It's God that gave them that gift. But when these people want to be able to do things in their own way, there's a sense in which they forget that, at least in the church setting, that they are coming to be led. They are meant to be discipled. So there's a way they want to kind of be like, yeah, you are the pastor of all the people here, but with you and I, you're having a problem there. If you don't get rid of that person, getting rid of that person means you will lose things. So if you don't get rid of that person, see, you may get rid of that person, you can lose things and lose people. If you don't get rid of that person, you can lose your church. So you find a way. Now, the problem with a lot of leaders and a lot of church leaders, quite frankly, church leaders, even though we preach from the Bible, a lot of church leaders don't have courage. It's like, I can't, so we often dwell around but if they go, this is what will happen. If they go, this is what will happen. We don't do the same analysis. If they go, this will happen. If they stay, you don't need to find out what will happen because you are already experiencing what's happening. Just project. And so you have to have frank conversation. And at that point, when it's gotten to the kind of trouble you are talking about, it's not, so what do you think? So what do you think? I'm thinking, There was somebody I told the church, after we are done, what do you think? This issue. I sat the person down. The person had already started causing a ruckus with some other people. They were complaining this early on. So I set up a meeting with the community people, like, okay, I'm coming to hear all your issues. But I called the person. When the person entered my office, I said, don't sit down. I have discussed with you on this thing. If you don't change in the next 1 or 2 weeks, you should leave this church. I said, did you hear me? You wanted to say, but I said, no. I didn't invite you to. I said, in 2 weeks. I said, whether you're angry or not, go and think about it. If you don't come back, it's fine. Do you think the person came back? They came back. They first chilled away for like 2 years, for like 2 weeks, like, I'm vexing. They came back. And at that point, it is, so you're come back under these terms. You see, at that point, you have gained power back. If you are trying to, you are still trying to wrestle with power. And when I say power again, it's not like leading church is a power dynamic issue. However, if you're a leader, you are giving power. Paul said, God gave me authority and power to build you up. But now, if that power is now, you have now wrestled that power against, so I can't build anything. And I can't build other people that you are leading astray. So, sadly, sometimes we have to break away with people even from the beginning. If that person leaves, your posture is right, which is there should be a broken heart that the person leaves. But sometimes we have to sacrifice those people for other things. The missionary, I've forgotten his name. So what's the name, sir? Okay. I can't remember all your 4 questions. You see, that's the problem of having too many questions. The last question, I can't quite remember, was about politics. And yeah, Christians should go into politics. Yes. But not every Christian is called to go into politics. But Christians should go into politics, definitely. The third one, I want to be a little bit careful. I try not to say things about of partisan politics very specifically. I try not to say things partisan politics in public, and there are reasons for that. But I want to be also careful that, especially with us leaders, let's be careful how we make categorical statements. It's when followers make, trite statements, everything is bad, everything is whatever. It's leaders that should stop, assess, read deeply, and say, really, I'm not a card-carrying APC member. I'm not a card-carrying member of anyone, anywhere. But I'll tell you this. You can attribute it to this current president or not. But if we read the way things had been prior to this president coming in, and you look at what has happened now, just economically, I can tell you this, we are not worse off now than we were before. And it's just facts. And as leaders, we have to be able to say, imagine, you remember I showed you the declining, can you show me the revitalized and revitalized one and renewed, the renewed and revitalized. Please, and I'm saying this again, we are meant to be, let's be mature here. Why? Because anytime we look at what's going outside, right, since I became a leader, I am much more empathetic with other kinds of leaders. Because I say, I've experienced this thing before at a smaller scale. Imagine you are a leader that's called to lead an organization, a city, a church, and they bring you in here. Are you listening? And you have thought strategically about things that will change. But it was going down. If after 2 weeks and you are here, people start complaining about you, what are you going to say? I inherited a lot. Do you think that anybody got to this place? The things that brought the people to this place, they are easy to just change after 2 weeks. I'm asking you. Are they easy to change after 1 month? It takes time. Because we had to do with giving, all of those kind of things, and also we deal with some partners abroad. Do you know what we suffered in terms of inflation in the previous 8 years? How many of you know what we got to inflation levels of almost 34%? Do you know what that is? You may not know exactly what it is. It just means that pepper and tomato kept on rising every time. I can't remember as of, and Akim, please help me with this. I can't remember as of last, I think it was December, what I know that we had gotten to less than 20%. Right? I'm trying to remember the exact figures. Our inflation figures had gone down to below 20%. If I'm not mistaken, probably around 15%. Huh? 15.15. Again, I am not a card-carrying member for APC. Facts are your what? Facts are your what? So if somebody has been in leadership and they went from 34%, inherited 34%, and then we're at 15%, is that progress? Imagine you're a state governor, you come in, 80% of the roads in your state, 80% of the roads are not tarred. You come in after 1 year, it is now not 80% of the roads, it is now 65% of the roads that are not. That means you built an additional what? 15%. But part of the people that are in 65%, they are saying you are a useless governor. Why? Because the road has not been fixed. Part of the challenges we are experiencing now with democracy all around the world, not just in Nigeria, should I tell you, it is part of what we are trying not to make our children like. We have become, we are dealing with this thing, undelayed gratification. The moment somebody comes in, we expect that all the problems should be solved. We are giving you 2-3 months. A lot of it has to do with here. Or some of it is here. It takes time to turn around. So I want you to be a little bit empathetic as a leader. Even if you're not in that position, if I get to a place where I inherit things so badly, what kind of attitude do I want the people I'm leading to live? It may mean that sometimes things are going bad, but it also means that they are putting things in place fundamentally that may start to change. And I try and read the facts. So that when your members are saying, all of them are bad, this person is bad, this person is bad, we sometimes have to have calm heads. And I would say this, what I'm saying, if it was Peter Obi, if it was Atiku, I'm saying this because we're entering political season now. Please, leaders, don't become like followers. Be the ones that bring things, let things calm down. On your other first two questions, yes. Is there time for each of those places? No, you don't read it with time. You read it with the characteristics of stuff. So for instance, I said, you will know that you are in momentum growth. You are having growth in certain things above 15, 20%, 30%. So if that is still continuing, you are still there. You understand? So it's really with the characteristics of those things. If you're having slow decline, losing a few people here and there, you're probably around complacency. And if that continues, it will continue. And then you know that's where I'm at. And then the first question was, what if the problem is the top person? What do you do when you're the person under that top person? Well, you have a number of options. You try and influence them to the extent that you can, if you can. And I said that is some people are number twos, number threes. Some people have a certain connection to that person, and they may have leeway into the person that others don't. Now, when I say influence, the difference between having influence on somebody and then getting the person. If the leader, you want the leader to do every single thing that you are saying, you expect him to do everything you are saying, and then he should resign and you should take over. But you are not the person. So if you are close, you have to, there's a whole concept in management that is called managing upwards. So oftentimes we think about managing downwards. I'm the one that is here, manage downwards. But actually, people, especially people that can become great leaders in the future, they also know how to manage upwards. And I think, in fact, if I'm not mistaken, that's probably the next leadership, the next seminar is more about around that area, right? How do you do that? So there are certain things that we do. One of the worst things that a lot of people do that complain about the top people and why they don't listen to them is that you are not a credible person. I'll tell you one thing about any top leader worth their salt. If they identify somebody that is so good in their organization with everything that they have within them, they will try not to lose that person. So what does that tell you? That person has influence with the leader. But how can you become that person? And come for the next seminar. I won't tell you now, or else we don't have anything to. All right, so with that, you can gain influence. Now, but there are times when you can't gain influence. Let's say the person is really, really, really bad. As I said, like you move from unyielding preservation, and now what usually happens from unyielding preservation before you get to accelerated decline is that they will not hear. And one of the first things that happen is you lose your best people. So there are times someone should leave. But I always say that those people that are saying that, complaining, they should look at themselves first. Because usually when some people come and complain to me about their leaders, fine, you hear it. I always follow the principle of the Bible. If I can't get to that leader, I suspend judgment because I've not heard from the other leader. By the time you sit down with the leader, this recently happened to me, right? I got news about a particular friend of mine who is a pastor, and somehow I heard about one disgruntled member, and the disgruntled member, another staff member of mine was talking to the disgruntled member, and that one was thinking whether he should leave and go to another church. And then my staff member asked, are there other people that want to leave? So he said, yes. So when that information came to me, of course I'm going to speak to my friend about it. So when my friend listened, he said, thank you that you're looking out for me, thank you, and maybe there are things to learn here. He said, but I do want to say things. If it's that guy, no, he then gave me like 3 or 4 things. No, he gave me like 2. Once he gave me 2 things, I said, don't say more. He wanted to say more. I said, don't say more. I know that kind of person. He said, he wants him. It's not, he said, that guy has been threatening to go for the last 1 year, and he's still there. So we know that kind of person, let him go. So, one person states their case until the other one. So if you are the kind of person that's complaining about the leader, my question is the leader also complaining about you? And is his own even more legitimate? All right. Okay. So another set of questions. One. Anybody else? Hands up. Okay, let's start with that person.
Okay, on the problem-solving matrix.
Let's know you.
Hi, everyone. My name is Moshokwe. I am not exactly a leader in any capacity, but I have a career, and I lead teams in the organization that I work for. So yeah, the problem-solving matrix. There are 7 steps. I remember the last one was iterate until you arrive at a conclusion.
Yeah.
But then in reality, where you have, except if you have like a leader, 6 steps. Sorry, not 7. Iterate until you reach a final solution. In reality, what you end up having is just an iteration till infinity. You really don't arrive at a solution because different people have different opinions. Except if, even in marriage, for example, in marriage, where it's just 2 people, you usually would need to have one person lead, which is usually the husband, and come up with a solution or a conclusion because you will always have differing opinions. Now imagine a group of 5 people, a group of 10 people, except if you have a leader that can come up with a solution, you usually would not be able to come up with a solution in trying to solve a problem. So how do you actually solve problems when you have different people with differing opinions and you are not able to determine what the solution is, except if one person is assigned a leader and can come up with a solution?
That's a really, really insightful. Your perception, and obviously the experience there is a great question. Okay, any other question? Did we understand her question, by the way? Okay. Any other question?
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
My name is Babatunde Oludare.
What, sir? What Oludare?
Babatunde Oludare.
Babatunde Oludare, yes.
Yes.
Where from?
Yeah,
Where from? Okay, sorry.
Lagos, yeah. I'm a veterinary doctor.
Ah.
Same time, a business strategist. I consult for companies.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah. My question goes spiritual. One, we've been here listening and learning. And most of our lectures today was much more practical, mathematical, and business strategies, even though we are mixing it. Now, my question is this. Starting a church, is it all about God or you? That's number one.
Okay.
Number two, what is God's take in a man's decision to start a church? It looks alike, but they're not the same. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. All right. So we have 3 questions. So let me obviously start with Moshokwe's question. Yes, that scenario you're talking about, it happens. And there's a whole skill of how to lead teams and how to lead meetings, right? And I think part of when that kind of thing happens, where there are so many people that we can't even have a solution, what's usually happened is that the team is not, or the meeting has lost leadership. So you have to first have the kind of leader that can lead it. That's number one. Number 2 is, I don't believe when you're trying to solve problems, I don't know what the right number is, but when you're trying to solve problems with a number of people, there should be a threshold of the number of people that are involved. Right? I'm telling you, if you bring 10 people, you can hardly solve a problem. The only way you solve a problem is if 5 of them, 6 of them, and usually this will happen, they are not really participating. And so you end up having 3 or 4 people. So it's not easy to have quite a group of people in solving those kinds of problems. So you have to be able to know how many people, who are the people that really need to be there. Now you can have some people that are just there to observe because they're being trained and all of that, but you have to have the core people there. Number 3 is back to some of those personality issues. Sometimes the reason why some people keep going ad infinitum with more suggestions is because they're not there for the goal of the mission. They're there so that they can impress the main leader. So now we are going down a particular direction and we are seeing that it's getting better. But now you bring your own that is taking us so far away just to be able to say, me, I'm here. Now, it takes a good leader to be able to not allow that also to be swayed. So you may just take it and just say, okay, this, yeah, but we are already with this one, this problem here. You give a critique of that one that enables us to stop it, and then we continue. So ultimately, what I'm saying is that you do need the kind of right leadership that helps. Now, in the marriage situation, the problem with marriage that is different from team dynamics is this. You remember what I said? What's number 3 in this thing that I said is crucial for number 4 and number 5? Huh? Yes, to ensure that we don't take things what? Personal. Because usually it's about the goal of the team. Here's the problem with marriage. The two people that are involved, it is inherently what? Personal. Like that personality is part of it. And that's why when you have marital problems, when you say the husband should take the lead, not quite. Because when it says husbands are meant to be leaders in the home, the leader in the home is the ultimate final decision maker. That's what it is. In a home, the wife is also a leader. So these are two equals, right? They are leaders. And so a wife's opinion has to hold a man's opinion. They have to both bring their opinions. Now here's the problem. When they both have opinions in a way that are totally at odds with one another, and usually it's not because they are thinking differently. It's because personality issues. Why is it his own opinion? This time is my own. So it's fight. You can hardly resolve. Somebody said this, the preacher on Sunday, that preached in church on Sunday, said, he said, a demonic idea. I agreed with him, by the way. The demonic idea that says that in our marriage, it can only be between two of us. At that point, both of you are not neutral on the situation. You have to get others involved. So I want to move that one a little bit from this other one. So I've given a number of tips. Don't have too many people. The leader has to be strong. You have to be able to know what's going on so that you can steer the meeting back into a place of progress. Now, are there some times where the problem is too hard that we have gone over and over and over, and all the solutions that have come, we have critiqued it, yes. And now people are getting tired. What should you do? End the meeting. We have learned a number of ways how we shouldn't be, and reschedule the next one. At that time, refresh brains, all of those things. And don't please, some of those meetings, even though I'm about to say something that I do often, don't go and be setting some of those problem-solving meetings at 5:30 p.m. No, my staff members, this is do as I say to the people here. It's not necessarily do as I do. But part of what I'm saying is that sometimes when people's brains are no longer functioning well, best time to really have meetings, I would say it's midday, right? Because mornings you may want to do some other kind of work that requires personal thinking. So midday, when you are at amber, in the morning you are like green. Amber, you can have meetings with people, all right? Okay, so about Mr. Bautunde Oludare. Yes. Okay, so the two questions are not the same, but they are related, as you said, right? So one is, when somebody wants to start a church, is it all God or is it all the person, right? And then the second question is, how much, what does God, yes, when someone is trying to start a church, I feel like, okay, yes. So let me tell you, I have a problem with the question. The first question, is it all God or is it all man? Let me ask another question, a similar question. For someone to be saved, is it all God or is it all that person? For someone to be saved, is it all God or is it all that person? I'm trying to do a Jesus thing. They ask Jesus a question, then Jesus asks the question back. For salvation, is it all God or is it all the person? Jonah chapter 2 verse 9. Salvation is of the Lord. Salvation is what? Of the Lord. I guess it's all God. And as many as believed, were saved and added to the church. So question, is it all God or is it all man? Huh? It's not either or. Let me tell you what the answer is. It's actually all God and all man. Here's the thing. The will of God, particularly what we call the decretive will of God, functions at a place that man can have no contribution in. But God also calls man to actually act in a way that, especially like with salvation, if you don't put your trust, God does not believe for anybody. Are you getting what I'm saying? 100% God, 100% man, because they are not working in the same place. I gave this example somewhere. I preached at a conference somewhere, and I said, does prayer change God's heart or anything like that? Well, it depends. And so the example I gave is this. My son, doing well in his exams, right? Is it all him or all me? Now, the truth is this, is all him and is all me. If I don't pay his school fees, forget about doing well in the exam. He won't even do the exam. Abi? So my son doing well in his exam has everything to do with me, 100%. And how much of his school fees is he going to pay? How much of his school fees is he going to pay? Zero. Because he doesn't even know how to make money. My second son, when he feels that the way to make money is to save your money. No, that's keeping. It's not making. You understand? However, with all that I'm paying, am I going to sit for the exam? Am I going to sit for the exam? No. When somebody wants to start a church, should it be all God or should it be all the planter? Of course, it's all God, because planting a church, starting a church, is a participation in what we call the Missio Dei, the mission of God. As the Father sent me. So the Father sent the Son, and the Father is God, the Son is God. It is the mission of God. But as the Father sent me, so I am what? Sending you. So when you go and live out the Great Commission, what are we doing? We are expanding the kingdom of God. That's what we are doing. But the kingdom was established on the death, resurrection, and the ascension of somebody. But he's sending others. And the person that he calls, their personality is going to be built into it somehow. Their history is going to be built into it somehow. Only Moses could deliver the children of Israel, because only Moses was brought up in Egypt and as a Hebrew slave. So Israel needed a deliverer that was like them, but was also unlike them. They needed a deliverer that understood the way of the oppressor, but also had kinship with them. But Moses was not built. Moses' history was not built to be the king of Israel like David was. They were both leaders of Israel, but their history and personality, did God call them both? Did God call them both? Or take Samuel, who was not a king, he was a prophet, but he was a transitionary person. He was the one that was going to announce the king. He was also a judge. Samuel's history had something to do with it. He was brought up by a judge who was also a priest. So you see that it is God, but the vessel that God uses also is important. So to start a church, is it God or is it human being? It is both. But at different levels. And therefore, in the second question, which I keep forgetting, what is God say? Stake. Is it stake? Say. Yeah, God's stake in a church. Ha. Do I need to answer that question? It is. You want to expand on it?
Yeah, praise God. It looks conflicting.
Yeah, but you have to ask the question you have to give that clarification very quickly.
The clarification is this. We see churches starting, and from birth to death. I'm going back the lecture of today. We see church starting, motivated, and every other thing, and it still dies. You gave an example. Now, are we saying God called those ones or he didn't call them? Thank you.
Okay. The same Bible that said God called, God can call you and you can start. Funny enough, I deliberately did not talk about the second half of Solomon's life. It would have been nice if Solomon's life ended in 1 Kings 10. It just didn't. And there's a second aspect of Solomon's life, which is really sad. Because the person that started off with God and was discerning and had all this wisdom and wrote all of these things, at some point, certain things that God himself said as a leader you shouldn't do, he did. Don't marry foreign wives, or else they will take your heart. That discerning heart I gave you, they will take your heart away from me. Or that if you want to disobey, shall you disobey small, or you take one. At least it will move your heart small. You understand me? Okay, one is not enough because the kingdom, now you are making, do two. Now, we think that many times is that he was very horny and randy. That was not the case. It was actually a leadership strategy. It was a worldly leadership strategy, and they still do it till today. If you want to have peace between kingdoms, why do you think that the Queen of England, her husband, was of the royal family of the Greeks? It was the way many kingdoms stopped fighting among themselves, because people at the head of each of these kingdoms, there's an intermarriage there. So Solomon was, I'm now having all these nations under me. Let me also have peace treaties. It was the best way of peace treaty. I'll marry this wife. I'll marry this wife. It was actually a wisdom strategy, but this was not a wisdom of God. And so what happened? The person that was genuinely called of God, it was God that told David, Solomon is the one. But the fact that you know that you felt that God has called you doesn't mean that you are independent of God. That's why you have some people that say something, I'm chosen of God, I'm chosen of God. And it's almost like it doesn't really matter what I do. Okay. We have examples. So there's one thing to say, somebody has started with God and were called, but they now started to change and they now started to go away from the one that called them. What happened to them eventually? What happened to them eventually is the outworking of the path that they had chosen. Now, I do want to say, when I say stuff like that, I want to just put a small caution. If Paul can say that I beat myself under, lest having preached to others, I myself become a castaway, anytime you see the fall of somebody big, great, don't be looking and saying, I knew it. If you do that, you're a fool. Alexander Solzhenitsyn said that the line of evil runs through the heart of every man. Every time I see another Christian leader fall, I just say, God, I beg. God, I beg. When my parents say, what should we do? Just pray for me that I want to finish well. Rather than, if only they have followed these things, it can happen to you. The person that says, I have built everything so that it won't happen to me, just wait. So when you see that, rather than move you to arrogance and pride, what you should do is you should build humility inside you so that you yourself don't depart, because it's easy. Many times when we say these people that have departed, and you say, now look at them. Just pray that the success that they have tasted, you won't taste it. It's when you get there that we'll know whether you will do better. Because some people have had a quarter of it, and then we couldn't see them again. They are now something. So just pray. Just say, God, what? I beg. Help me. Okay. Final question. Yeah, final one. Okay, I didn't get the A part of his question. What was it? Repeat it. Okay.
Maybe he will repeat it very well, but I think he was insinuating using practical wisdom and spiritual.
Okay. Yes, yes. Okay. So, this may not be what you meant by that, but I'll still tackle that, right? So why are we? You said that we learned a lot of, a lot of business things and all of that, and some people may question and say, is that appropriate for church ministry? You bet it is. Why? I don't know whether I'll call it business. It's actually more organizational. If organizational wisdom is true in this world, that is true, the things are true, they work, and we see them, and they're not morally depraved. If they are true, where did they come from? I'm asking. This is a theological question. Where did they come from? Are you sure? Are you sure? But if then I quoted a professor in University of Toronto, a professor in IMD Business School. How you say it's from God? And some of those people, I don't know, they may not even be Christians. So if they're not Christians, where did they come from? Where did they come from? You see, as Christians, we are the ones that should answer that question very affirmative. If something is true, what is it that anybody has that they have not received? And this is where you have to understand, and theologians will make distinctions between different kinds of revelation as taught from the Bible. The first revelation is general revelation. Mathematics, a lot of the principles of mathematics, are they true? Yes. Who do you think brought them into being? You only discover mathematics within a created world. Who created the world? He put the principles of mathematics there. That's why Isaac Newton, after he discovered certain theories, he will finish it, he will go down, he will kneel down and praise God that gave him the revelation for it. When Moses was trying to judge Israel and give them things, and he was now having problems, somebody came and gave him organizational wisdom. He was a priest of Midian. Are you getting what I'm saying? I've said this before. I don't know whether, forgive me for saying it. Part of the problem I've seen with ministries is, and even businesses, is this. You hear, for instance, sometimes a business owner, a CEO, when you are telling them, giving them some moral intelligence and certain kind of things, you know what they'll say? Something like, Pastor, that's church. This is business. And then some Christians, and some of them are meant to be Christian CEOs, and then it's true, some pastors say, when we come into church, this is church things. Don't bring business things there. And it's almost like, so I can be a kingdom person in church, but I can't be a kingdom person outside of church. Where did you learn that from? That is false teaching. So one of the things I always want to try and bridge is this. I want the Christian CEOs to be more like the good pastors. And I want the pastors to learn a whole lot more from them. Why? Because it's all God's truth. You should hold your CEOs to the same moral standards that you hold your pastors to. And you should hold your pastors to the same skill standards that you hold the CEOs to. Remember the verse that we read, Psalm 78, verse 72. It says that David, he did what? He shepherded Israel with integrity of heart. And he also did what? With skillful hands, he led them. All that skill you're not going to learn inside the Bible, because the Bible is giving you a special revelation of God's redemptive plan in the person of Christ. Does that make sense? And so what we do is that we get knowledge from anywhere sanctified and bring. Why? Because whether you like it or not, church is an organism, but there's no organism that is not organized. And so every organism is like an organization. So we get the best principles of organizational learning. Does this make sense? All right, thank you all. We've just come to the end of time. Let us just pray once more. I hope this has been a blessing for you. I know it's a full day. All right.